Hello, my fellow readers. I asked my people over on Instagram, what are your bookish hot takes? And they got spicy. They got some hot takes over there. So today we're gonna go through them and I'm gonna tell you what I think. We're gonna talk about them. And I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not holding back. I'm not gonna be mean, but I'm gonna be completely honest. Oh, it's gonna be fun. I got like 50 responses, so I picked about 15-ish. First up, if I don't like the first book in a series, I am not pushing through to the second one. I think there are two ways to look at this, right? The one is, do you hate the book? Or was it was good, you liked some parts of it, maybe some other parts you didn't like? I feel like there's a wide spectrum of what we're talking about here. If you don't like the first book, I'd have no problem with you DNFing this series, right? Even if I think, like let's say Sun Eater, for example, a lot of people don't like the first book. I loved it. I think Empire of Silence is underrated. Book 3 is my favorite sci-fi book of all time. If you genuinely did not like the first book, I'm not gonna tell you, oh, you gotta push through it. I'm not gonna tell people how to waste their time if they're not gonna like it. Life is too short for you to read books that you don't like. But if you thought a book was fine and you were like, okay, I see the potential in this, and you're like, I just don't feel like pushing through it, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice, especially if you've heard that the second and third book, fourth, whatever, are great. But I also think that the first book in a series, it's a trial period for the author to get their world building out there, but then they still don't know what they're gonna do off the rip, right? They're not catching their stride, especially if it's a debut, right? You're trying to get into the book landscape and maybe you're trying to conform to different tropes or certain things that make a book published well. I'll give them grace, right? Maybe the second book is a step up. So maybe there's a rule, maybe read half of the second book, and then if you're like, okay, I just don't like it, then DNF the second book. First one's not too hot. All right, next. Reading too many books at a time can take away from the experience. I'm laughing because I am a serial multiple book at a time reader. Okay, I think this also depends on the genre or the type of book that you're reading. I think that if you are reading multiple books at once and it's not too complicated of books that you are reading, then it really does not matter. I don't care. Read, whatever, just read books. I'm not pretentious with my reading. Authors need to have the nuts to kill off beloved characters if it makes sense for the plot. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Yes, please. This is my biggest pet peeve. If you don't want to kill off the characters, why should I care about the characters? You don't have to kill off, the main character, the durotagonist, the third main, I don't know the term for that, the third main character. That's fine. But please, just one of the top 5 most important characters, please. I need to know that the intense scenes, especially fantasy, sci-fi, these intense scenes, horror, I need to know that those scenes matter. They're worthless if you're not gonna kill off a character. I'm not gonna name the series, but there's certain series that I've read that they don't do it, and I didn't wanna finish the books because why should I care? At that point, I'm reading a lit fic novel where I'm just watching these characters in their lives, which is great. But when I'm trying to read fantasy, sci-fi, please, authors, one main character out of the 5 most important, one of them. Or else there's no reason to care about moments where they might die because you know they're not going to. Oh my God, I've been wanting to talk about that for a while. I just didn't know, I couldn't just make a single video on that, but please. What is my take on DNFing books? Life is way too short to read books that you don't like. I think my rule is about 25 to 30% in, about a third of the way through. If you really are hating it, stop reading it or soft DNF it. I've done that. I believe that there are times in your life that you're not going to want to read a book, that you want to read a different book. Soft DNF a book or hard DNF it. If you're not liking it, stop. I've hard DNF'd a few books. Let me rephrase that. I've hard DNF'd one book. The other two I was thinking of, I soft DNF'd The Road by Cormac McCarthy and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Her writing is so confusing, and it was before I started getting into classics. I am reading Emma with my classics book club that I'm hosting with Sam Reads Books. We're reading Emma in January, so I'm getting into Jane Austen. I'll come back to Pride and Prejudice if I like Emma. The Road, I can't get over the punctuation, dude. The limited chapters, the quotation marks. I need to suck it up and get through it because I know that's part of the allure of it, the quotation not being a part of it. You are just in there with the characters. I get that. It's also a reason why I'm putting off Normal People by Sally Rooney. I need to just get over myself and get back into it because I did like the story. I like the book. The story was brutal, but it was good. DNF books if you want. I'm not the book police. I think that if you're not enjoying a book, don't waste your time. Some fantasy series are way too long. Okay, all right, 10 plus books is crazy. Wrap it up. Listen, I think 10 is a rough mark for that because I'm reading Wheel of Time. Currently, I'm reading about 1 book a month. I'm reading Dragon Reborn in January, which is book 3. Book 2, The Great Hunt, incredible book. And I'm already thinking, I am going to miss these characters after, 14 books? I'm going to miss these characters. I don't think that is a general rule. I think some series for sure. I'm sure there's ones out there that I just don't know about and won't be tackling ever. But I mean, some of the series that I've talked about that I want to read, Malazan, Wheel of Time. I want to get into Terry Pratchett books. It genuinely depends on the quality of the books. Like if you're getting to 6 or 7 if you're getting to 6 or 7 books and you're like, okay, this is definitely worth the 10 plus books, sure. Down below, comment some series that are 10 plus that you think weren't worth it. I can't think of any. Maybe I'm not too far into fantasy and sci-fi, specifically fantasy. That's where you get those series. Are there thriller or like mystery, romance, historical fiction? I'm so new to reading that in my mind, the only thing that I think of for series are fantasy and sci-fi. Yeah, let me know some 10 plus book series that I have not mentioned that you think are or aren't worth it. That's a good question to answer. I don't know. I think that if the quality is good, 10 plus books might not even be enough for some of them. Well, somebody else said if you're not feeling a book, it is perfectly okay to DNF it before 25%. Okay, before 25%, I disagree. I think that 25% marker is a good line to draw it. Before 25%, that's crazy. Soft DNF, sure. Hard DNF, I don't know. Unless the writing is just atrocious and you can't take it, sure. But hard DNFing before 25%, that's crazy to me. I wrote these in my notes. I don't have the exact screenshots. I'll put them in the video on the screen for you guys, but these might not be verbatim. I apologize. I love that there are lots of POV, main characters, many characters. Also, I don't care if a book is third or first person. Yes. Okay, I was saying yes to I love multiple POV. Multiple POV, yes. I love multiple POV. I feel like some stories like Will of the Many, I mentioned before, I didn't love. I think it was too singular in the narrating. Sometimes I feel like a wider scope for the narration, you see the different parts of the world. That's why I love these epic fantasies that follow different POVs. Or even some thrillers that I've read, you switch POVs back and forth, like Recursion. I love that, going back and forth between the 2 main characters. It was so cool. I'm not a huge fan of single POV books. There are exceptions, Red Rising, Sun Eater, although I do think Sun Eater can get repetitive at points with just Hadrian talking. So I guess I disagree with the third or first person. I prefer third person. I don't mind first person if it's done well. I definitely prefer third person. But many POVs, yes, absolutely. I love books where you follow the different perspectives. It adds so much to the story because then you can sprinkle in the world building of the different parts of these worlds. You don't have to rely on info dumping if you're just following one character. I think this next one doesn't pertain to BookTube, but more to Bookstagram or BookTok. Advertising by trope should not be a thing. On the short form platforms, it is so tough to make a 3-minute video, especially for Bookstagram, that's the limit. TikTok, you can go however long as you want, so it's a little different. But you want to catch the attention of these people scrolling, you want to get their attention. So it's so hard to go into super deep conversations about the book, especially for book rec videos where you're recommending a bunch of different books. Book reviews, sure. If you're just advertising by trope, I don't know why you're doing that. You have 3 minutes to talk about one book. You can definitely do more than just by trope. But, and this is something that I do, I don't like when people spoil what happens in the book. Even like the synopsis of a story spoils it, and when people just say what it's completely about, I feel like that's a spoiler. Sure, you know, maybe a limited scope of what the book is about might not get you to read the book, but I do think that's where tropes can be good But if you're only advertising the trope of every single book, I feel like it gets to a certain point where the books almost lose their value in the recommendation. If you're not talking about what the book did for you, how it affected you, a slight look into what the book is about. If you're just saying specific, okay, let's just say for romance, this is enemies to lovers, this is best friends to lovers. If you're just advertising every single book as that, what's the point? Because you're gonna run into a bunch of different romances that have those certain tropes. Or like the hero's journey. There's so many hero's journey, fantasy, sci-fi books, saving the world trope for sci-fi. Start with that, sure, then say what makes it different. Advertising by trope, it's definitely a tricky line. Like I said, booktube, why would you do that on booktube? You have so much time, you have all the time in the world. Mention it, sure, but only advertising by trope, it will get oversaturated. But hey, I don't know, there's a lot of very big content creators on Bookstagram or BookTok that do just go by trope, and they get people to read the books that they recommend. So hey, maybe I'm doing something wrong that they're doing right. I don't know. I do think it can be entertaining though. If you are just following those creators for entertainment, sure, do that. Like I follow popular book talkers that just do that, and they're super entertaining. They're hilarious. I follow them because they are funny, not necessarily because of the books that they read. Sometimes the books that they recommend are ones that I've already read, and I just like to be justified in my thoughts or hear some conversations about it. So I guess that's a whole nother conversation. If you are making videos to entertain, to recommend books, to maybe just get your thoughts on them, I'm not going to police how you make videos because there are certain reasons to watch different content creators. Do what you want. If you are going for just straight book recs, like you want to put people onto books, maybe talk about a tiny bit more than just the trope. All right, Yap Sesh is home for that. Next one. People be gatekeeping 5 stars. If you're obsessed and love that book, just give it 5 stars. I will put the amount of 5 stars that I've ranked. I'll put it right here. You'll see it. I think there's quite a bit. I'm a consistent 5-star giver. Okay, let's start with 1 star. I have never rated a book 1 star. I think this would be, I hated the book. I would not recommend this to anybody. 2 stars. There was something I got out of it. Like there was one thing maybe I got out of it. I didn't hate my life for reading it. Never would read it again. 3 stars. I think I didn't love the book. It was good. It was solid. I can see why other people loved it. That also goes like 3.5, 3.75. If it's 3.75, I like the book, and I definitely can see why other people liked it. 4 stars, great book. I would recommend it to anybody. There are a few things I had problems with. Maybe like 2 or 3 things that I could say I didn't love this in the book, but it was a fantastic book. On the right day, maybe I could give it a 4.75, right? 5 stars. This book changed my life. This book gave me things that I didn't have going into it. I annotated this book a bunch because I wanted to remember things from it. This book was incredible. If I loved a book that much, if I didn't have a problem with the book, I'm giving it 5 stars. Okay, wait, also in that category, a 5-star, even if it didn't change my life, if I didn't have a problem with it, if I loved it, if it was just a book I loved and I didn't have a problem with it, I'm giving it 5 stars, baby. 5 stars is going to those books that I loved. So I guess it's not just books that are life-changing, it's books that I think are perfect. I didn't see a problem with it. So I think there's a lot of books that I don't have a problem with, that I loved. There's just nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to change it to a 4.75, 4.5, 4 even, if I didn't see any flaws with it. So I'll give 5 stars to anything. I think also, problem with rating is sometimes it might be seen as you're trying to seek validation from people if you aren't just rating books how you want. If you have a more strict scale, if you are only giving out 2 or 3 5-stars a year, I don't see a problem with that at all either. Rate books how you want because it's what you get out of it. I'm a big supporter of Fable. I use Fable for all of my book tracking needs, and I feel like that people on Fable, you can also write about the books that you're reading. Like it's also a social media platform almost. You can write about the books that you're reading. You can give your thoughts on quotes, on whatever. I feel like just talk about books how you want. It's what you get out of it. I post on there because I want to show other people what I'm reading, give other people recs, It's just fun. I'm a lover of tracking things, writing things down. I use Notion all the time. Notion, my DMs are open, by the way. I use your app every single day. I track the books that I'm reading, my thoughts on the books that I'm going through. I rank all the books that I'm reading. I do that for me. I track these books because it's for me. I'm gonna rank them, rate them how I want. I feel like most of these are me saying, do what you want, right? Who cares? It's your reading experience. Whatever, do what you want. Okay, I think this corresponds to the books that I've been reading lately. Just because it's a classic doesn't automatically mean that it's good. I feel like this is like, yeah, for sure. This is everything popular in media, not just books, not just classics specifically. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's automatically good. I think this is, yeah. Also, good is subjective. I do think there are objective truths for good writing, impact on society, but good, as in like this is a good book, everybody's gonna like this. No, definitely not. There are books that are classics that not everybody's gonna like. Okay, I feel like this is the hottest take so far. Well, these last two are very hot takes. No fantasy book needs to be over 500 pages. Oh my God. Wrong. I'm sorry, that is wrong. Not because you have to like books over 500 pages, fantasy books that are 500 pages, but because there are certain stories, the scope is that grand. The story is that grand. 500 pages is not nearly enough. This also pertains to classics that are over 1,000 pages. There are certain stories that an author wants to tell. 500 pages is not enough at all. Maybe the books that this user is reading, maybe those books could be too long. I don't know what books they're talking about, but most books over 500 pages, unless there is just a massive mistake on the author's end where they put unnecessary scenes. But even unnecessary scenes, filler scenes, I feel like if you are not wanting filler, one, you just want to get through the book. I have no problem with that, just getting through a book. If you want to just know the story, sure, whatever. I don't like to do that. But to get connections with these characters, in anime, those filler episodes, when maybe those characters eventually die, I want to be emotionally invested in their stories. Maybe there's an intense moment, maybe they don't die, maybe they're just going through something. I want to be connected to them. Why should I care about a character if I didn't get those moments in between the battle scenes? Maybe it's strategic moments in fantasy or sci-fi. Maybe it's those scenes where they're reconnecting with their family, with their loved ones in a romance, in a serious lit fic thriller. Little side rant right here for all my anime fans. I feel like a lot of newer anime, they don't do these filler episodes. They don't like go into depth about these characters. They just give you the story. They give you what you need to know. And it ruins the emotional impact. I don't know if any of my anime fans out there agree with that, but I really think that is a problem with newer anime. So I guess I'm 23, but you know, maybe that's my demographic for anime, but maybe I'm turning into an old head with my takes here, but you need unnecessary content in media to feel, you need those scenes, those chapters, those episodes even. Get connected to those characters, get connected to the stories that you are reading, that you are consuming. Feel them, live in them, because for me, it is not the same experience for what I want to get out of them. Finally, we have a very hot take. Audiobooks don't count as reading. If you don't agree, buy a dictionary, prove me wrong. Okay, if we're going by the dictionary definition, yeah, listening and using your eyes to read are different things if you're just going by the technical sense. But if we're going the route of getting the same amount of the story for books specifically, fiction books, we are listening to and reading the same words. It might not be the same exact experience, sure. Inherently, they're different. We are reading the same exact story. I'm also going to go on a little tangent here about this. The people that say it doesn't count as reading, you are the same person that wanted people to get into books for the past 20 years. Ever since technology has evolved, you are the people that want newer readers, that you want the literacy rate to go up. You want people to get into reading, but now you're gatekeeping how they do it. Some people cannot read it enough to not use an audiobook. Some people don't have the time because of work. You're going to tell people that are working all the time they can't read? That is so pretentious in my mind. If you want to implore people to try and mix in a few physical books, read one physical book a month. If you want to get people to do that, sure. If you think that it will enhance their life, sure. I'm all for getting the most out of it that you want to. And if you think that people are better off for it, do that. But I feel like some of the people that are saying this, they're also complaining about the people online. They're saying, oh, why are you bragging about the amount of books that you read? Why do you care? From your standpoint, you also care. You care about the amount of books that people read. You're saying, why should we brag about the amount of books? You are doing that. You are bragging about reading less. So it's the same thing. You are also bragging. Basically what I'm saying is stop being pretentious. Pretty much. I've gotten into annotating and journaling books. I'm taking books slower. I'm also listening to audiobooks at work. I drive for work every single day. I can't read during that 8 hours that I'm working. I'm going to listen to an audiobook. Now, I'm not listening to classics. I'm not listening to books that I want to change my life. That is a different story because I want to annotate it. I want to write books in my journal about it. But I love me an audiobook. Audiobooks are fantastic. They're accessible. You can use your library for them. I use Libby all the time to get my audiobooks, to get them from the library. Audiobooks are sick. And if anybody tells you you are less of a reader, then ignore them because it doesn't matter. If you are putting people down for the way that they read, I don't necessarily want you watching, honestly. I think it's a good place to stop. Thank you all for sending your bookish hot takes. If you want to be maybe in the next round for a community built video, follow me on Instagram. That is where I do all of my most engaging stuff. That's where I post my stories. The behind the scenes posted on there. That's mainly where I'm at. I post on Twitter sometimes, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, but that's mainly where I'm at, is on Instagram if you want to get to know me a little bit more. Let me know about any of the thoughts on here. I would love to have a civil conversation about all of these. Also, I got a lot of responses on here that are like, this author's overrated. People shouldn't be reading certain genres. I didn't want to put that out into the world because what's the point? I don't think I was hating on any of these. If I was, let me know. I apologize if I was contradicting myself here at all, saying that I don't want haters here, but I feel like most of my takes, I am saying that do what you want, do whatever you want to do. All right, that's it. I will see you guys for the next video. I want to get you guys involved. Let me know what I should do for some videos. Happy reading, y'all. Let's have a blessed 2026. I'll see you next time.